Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves some good announcements. It's Frank. How are you today?
I am doing fine, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Is your fine... When you say fine, you mean that in the positive sense, right?
I do. Yeah, that didn't come off quite the way I meant it. Yeah, I mean, like, I am doing just fine and dandy is how I mean it.
Nice. I love when you're fine and dandy. Are you fine and dandy because you're drinking something? And if you are, what is that?
Not because I'm drinking something, but I'm
That's
fine
good.
and dandy, and I happen to be drinking something. Yes.
Good. I like the way you phrase that. That's much better. Are we still doing phrasing?
Nice. Reference acknowledged. I like that. Man, I haven't watched Archer in a long time. Anyway, I'm enjoying an IPA from Smuttynose Brewing. It is their Back Check IPA. This, truth be told, this was just part of a variety pack, like a winter variety pack that I picked up of Smuttynose beers back around Christmas, and I still have a few left. And yeah, this is a really nice solid IPA. It's nothing. Again, much like when I said fine, I don't mean this in a negative way. It's nothing overly remarkable. It's a solid, really good IPA.
Sure.
Not overly hoppy, not overly bitter. Just the way I like it.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Not overly hoppy, not overly bitter. The way that I describe myself around Easter. Not overly hoppy.
Wow.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it's something.
It was a joke.
It was a joke.
Whether it landed, who's to say?
It landed somewhere.
The toilet, Frank. It landed in the toilet.
Ooh.
I am drinking something you gave me, which is not a beer, but I am so close to finishing off that bottle of Makers that you gave me like 4 years ago that I am continuing to drink that. I had the best intentions of going to get some beer today, but my wife had to work, and we were kind of two ships passing in the night, and it was either be a good husband, get home on time, or stop at the liquor store. And I weighed those options in my head, and one of them came out strong. And based on my drink tonight, I think you can guess which one.
Good husband it is.
Yep.
Good husband, good dad.
So anyway, I did that. So I'm drinking some Makers tonight.
Very nice.
But anyway, Frank, this is all prelude to say we are talking about the currently announced as of today. What fortuitous timing! Announced today, the DC studio slate for the next couple of years, what the plan is, what they're doing, and we pulled this information that we're going to talk about. I pulled it from two different places. One is the Hollywood Reporter, which had a lot of supplemental information from the main video that James Gunn released on his accounts, along with the many other accounts, including Warner's Entertainment and DC Comics and blah blah blah. So, are you ready, Frank?
Oh yeah. I have prepped for this. I am ready for this.
Excellent. Okay, so first and foremost, I assume you watched the video, right? Of the announcement video?
That is part of the prepping for this, correct?
Excellent. What was the general feeling you got by the end of the video?
The general feeling I got I guess, he seems very excited. He seems very excited. I don't know what do you want? Like it was clearly a lot of thought went into this, into the framing of it, and into the he ended it by talking about how focused they are on storytelling, right?
Right.
And how that is everything is about storytelling. It's all about storytelling. And if it's not for that, what are we doing here? So clearly they want to emphasize. I look at it, I work in marketing. I think about it from like, what is the messaging here? And what are they trying to tell us? And what's the message they want us to leave with? And they want us to leave with the idea that, hey, GC's in good hands. We're thinking about the storytelling. We're thinking about how things are put together. We know what we're doing, and we're headed in it. We got a direction, and we're heading in it.
Yeah, I agree. I actually I wrote down the quote he said right at the end of the video. He says, the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've seen before, which is really, to me, his way of saying, like, it's not the Marvel formula. It's totally not cookie cutter. We've seen this before. He even said in the interview with the press, he says it's not the Gunverse. It's not. It's got it's going to be all these different feels from all these different stories. That's what makes it so fun. The stories are completely different, and each has the individual expression of the writers and the director that are making these projects. And he added, but we're not stupid. Not every filmmaker is going to be happy because if someone is doing something that isn't working, we're going to be honest. A lot of people are thinking this is Marvel 2.0. It's not. And that's good because that's not what I don't want that. I've seen that. I've seen Marvel.
Sure.
And I think what wasn't working before is this cookie cutter experience. And that's even truly what's kind of getting stale about Marvel in that there are a lot of different styles, but it all comfortably rests within the Marvel house, like style and formula. Like it always falls back on kind of the same thing. And I think that like it's okay to see different things like in comics. Like if I look at someone's, run of The Flash and looks so tonally different than what's happening in Gotham City or whatever else, but it's still the same world. I know that. So who cares if they have different feels and different tones and whatever else? Good characters are flexible and can exist in a multitude of different ways. So, and before I forget, these stories that he's breaking down, he's calling them chapters, right? So he says chapter 1 is Gods and Monsters. And that is chapters, I think, is deliberate, right? Because he's not saying it's phase 1. Or phase 1, the Infinity Saga,
right.
Or a fit into the Infinity Saga, like, or the multiverse saga or whatever. Saying that, if you're talking about Marvel, that's just the story, right? It's the Infinity Saga. It's telling you what the plot of all these things are leading up to. Gods and Monsters is thematic, right? Like, so right off the bat, he, as like a creative, is going for the creative punch.
Right.
Chapter 1. This is a story, lots of stories. That's the all important thing. And I'm so on board because superheroes become stale if the story isn't good. Right.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. He says actually in the article with the Hollywood Reporter, he says the duo are putting a premium on screenwriting, saying that they would prevent the dreaded feeling of superhero fatigue and also gives the projects a tonal and thematic difference for each other. Gunn called out the degradation of screenwriters in Hollywood and also said that the duo wanted to be respectful of the voice of filmmakers working with them. So yeah, that's all very exciting to me. Before we even get to like what the projects are, I like the tone of that very much. It's going to be something unique for every project that's coming our way.
Yeah, I like that. I like how that sounds. I do have my concerns about consistency. Because like while I do want things to feel fresh and every creative to get their creator to have their creative input and their put their stamp on something. I think consistency is something that they have been sort of lacking in the DC universe. And he talked a lot about, and we'll get into it, about the things that they're doing to ensure consistency across the board. I just hope that there is tonal consistency as well. And I hope that like having that was sort of the reason why we needed someone at the helm, in a way that we didn't really have. And they've cycled through some folks, but hopefully, having these two guys at the helm means there's going to be some more storytelling and tone consistency too.
Sure. But I think like tone consistency is tough because if you just look at tone, you have the you have the concern that every character ends up being a carbon copy of each other. Like,
of course,
they're always slightly witty or they're all deadly serious, which is again like maybe what we had previously, right?
Yes.
Opposing opposites. Like you either have the Snyder version, which everyone's really serious, and basically the same of one another from that angle, or you have the Marvel formula, which everyone is like ready with the quip, and there's not a character differentiation. I mean, there is to an extent, but they all sit comfortably within the same tone for one another.
Yeah.
I don't think like if you give me a horror comic book movie that's very tonally different than the Superman movie that's all about kindness and hope, but it's unique, but the tone fits the character. And I think
that's definitely something that I'm excited for.
That's mostly what I want. I want the tone to fit the character, and if those characters collide in one movie, then the tone fits the two of those characters in the middle.
I mean, I've been beating that drum since the beginning of the Snyderverse, so I'm totally on board with that.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Snyderverse, he did talk about Henry Cavill and Superman. He said, we didn't fire Henry. Henry was never cast. For me, it's about who do I want to cast as Superman and who do the filmmakers we have want to cast. And for me, for this story, it isn't Henry. He added, I like Henry. I think he's a great guy. And I think that he's been around by a lot of people, including the former regime at the company. But this Superman is not Henry for a number of reasons. Which is fine. That's
totally fair. He's like, we didn't fire him. We just never hired him for our project.
Right. Exactly. Which is fine.
Yeah.
They came in after all that happened. So, so that's fine. And, that happens. That's Hollywood. We're just really more aware of it right now.
Sure.
And so, so that's the whole kit and caboodle right there on Henry Cavill, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm excited for something different. And
absolutely.
Whatever. I'll just say, what else did he say before we get into the thing? One of our strategies is to take the diamond characters, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and use them to prop up other characters that people don't know. I'm on board for that. I understand that. Here are your three characters that everyone knows, everyone, a lot of people like, and then pepper in characters that you don't know. And that's good. I don't know how that's how you sell a good product, right? Like,
totally.
Yeah. Here's the thing that will attract people, but here's the thing that people will actually love once they get there. Like, that's good. That's very good.
Absolutely. It's smart. And it's like, reel them in with the big, come for the diamond characters, stick around for the other characters.
That's right. And then by the end, they're all diamond characters.
Exactly.
That's the hope. Friggin' people didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were before that movie, right?
For sure.
Or a lot of those characters. Most of the MCU.
Many of them. Yeah.
Apart from Spider-Man, people really didn't know who they were. They were all B characters. I'm sorry. Iron Man and Captain America were B characters.
Iron Man. Yeah. Yeah. Captain America, maybe. Yeah. But Iron Man for sure was sort of a second string character at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the lovely thing about these things. Whether TV or film, they're looking for actors that are going to cross over between films and TV. So, like, John Cena was in the Suicide Squad, but he was also in Peacemaker on TV. So they're willing to do both. But this is golden age of television. Most actors are really willing to do both, right? Because TV is just as good, if not sometimes better, than the movies. So it's just a bigger time commitment. That's I think the harder part.
Sure.
Sometimes, depending on how large the movie is and how small the television show is. We don't want to tell series that feel in any way like stepchildren or lesser than, said Gunn. It's just another way to tell a story. They like being able to spend 8 hours digging deep into certain characters, which is great. So everything is, again, unique and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And that basically that. And now let's get into the video. He did tell the press that plans may yet shift. So that means that these are what they're doing, but the nature of the business is that some things might wiggle around, you know, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone should.
This is what they have planned right now, but like they're open to being nimble and changing if they need to, which honestly, I feel like is something that they have needed to sort of commit to. I think they were making a lot of plans and sort of sticking to them no matter what, like being too rigid. And I think this openness to being a little flexible is important.
I agree. Absolutely. I've said on the podcast many times, like making a movie or a television show is like a minor miracle every time something comes out.
Yeah.
And so it's just like so many moving pieces. And so like if it comes out, great, fantastic, we're good. So first and foremost, there are going to be out of continuity stories that continue to happen. And they said there is going to be a high bar for those out of continuity stories, meaning that they're not just going to happen just to happen, but there has to be quality behind them. And so the ones we know about right now, or he mentioned specifically the Batman, Teen Titans Go, and Todd Phillips' Joker. And so other ones that we know exist that are currently going on right now that don't look like they're on the way out is Superman and Lois. That's another one. And I guess Gotham Knights, which is about to premiere, but Lord knows how long that's going to last. Because it did not look good, Frank. I don't know if you watched the trailer, but
I did not.
You should, because it'll give you some early 2000s Birds of Prey vibes. Like that.
Interesting. That's not great.
No, not great at all.
No, it's not. You mentioned Superman and Lois. In Variety, they did say the two studio heads, Gunn and Safran, did say that Superman and Lois has 1 or 2 seasons left.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna. It sounds like they're going to give it time to sort of run its course, but ultimately they do want it to.
They want everything to fold.
They want everything. Yes.
You know what? But 3 to 4 seasons of a television show, that's a good run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're going to, all I ask, as somebody who's covering it on a podcast right now, all I ask is let it end naturally, let it end on its own terms. But I understand sort of saying like, hey, we're moving in a different direction. This doesn't fit with that direction anymore. I'm totally on board with that.
And I got many hours of quality Superman storytelling. And
absolutely.
So I'm fine for that.
So like I'm good with that. I wish it was, I wish it would stick around longer, but I understand that. As long as they give it a chance to sort of run its course and end in a natural way, not one of those like cliffhanger cancellations. As long as it's not that, then I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Which doesn't seem to be the case, because even Doom Patrol and Titans are wrapping. Those stories are wrapping. But we know that they knew they were going to wrap, and so tell the story naturally at the end, which is good. So anyway, all these out of continuity stories are going to be labeled DC Elseworlds, which I think people have been screaming about for years. Like, thank you for finally doing that.
I know. I do like that they're going in that direction.
Yeah, which is great. The Black Superman project, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, is still in active development and will fall under this category, which is exciting. And
I am excited for that.
Yeah. And the Batman sequel with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves is still a go, and that is going to be released on October 3rd, 2025, the same year as the new Superman movie, and will be entitled The Batman Part 2. All good things. I just like The Batman Part 2. That's really simple. That's nice. Easy.
Yes.
Like, don't you waste a subtitle, I guess, for...
I'm predicting there will be a subtitle. The Batman Part 2, Dawn
of Justice. Yeah, whatever.
More bat, more man. I don't know.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. But I predict that there will be a subtitle. That's one of those things that I think they're like, no, we're like he said, this is the plan for now, but things might change. I think that's going to change.
Hey, it very well could. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Whatever.
1, 2, there you go.
1, 2, there you go. All right. Shazam is still coming out in March 17th.
Yeah.
And Gunn said that there's no reason. He said the 4 leads of the films that are coming out, which are the Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman, all have the potential to continue playing those leading roles in the DCU projects down the line. There's nothing that prohibits that from happening.
Yep.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. But for Shazam specifically, he says, like, it's always been in its own little corner. It's not connected. So there's, like, really no reason for it just not to keep going.
Yeah. I noticed when he said that, and I thought, like, yeah, but it ended with the big Superman at the end of the movie. That was kind of the big...
that's Black Adam, not Shazam.
No, Shazam ended with remember, like...
Oh, so yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
It wasn't Henry, but it was his suit.
Sure. But okay.
Yeah.
So, but I think we'll talk about that in a bit. So right here, with The Flash, which is coming out June 16th.
Yes.
Gunn calls the movie, directed by Andy Muschietti, probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. That's pretty high. That's a high praise. Of course,
sure.
they're trying to sell it.
It's the studio. And it's the studio. Of course, he's going to say that.
Yeah, he's trying to sell it, but but at the same time. All right. Like, I hope that's true.
Sure, I hope so.
That would be wonderful.
I hope so. I want that to be the case.
I want them all to be wonderful.
Yeah, of course.
Before we get into the movie himself, he did address Ezra Miller, or they both did, which says Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. We're fully supportive of that journey they are on right now. When the time is right, when they are ready to have that discussion, we will figure out what the best path forward. But right now, they are completely focused on their recovery. In a conversation with them in the last couple of months, it feels they are making enormous progress, which is a very diplomatic way of saying, hush.
Yeah, basically.
Like news will happen when it will happen, but just worry about the movie right now. Separate the art from the artist. They're doing what they can to get better. Judge not unless ye be judged. Everyone deserves a second chance. And shut up about it. That's what that read
if
to
Ezra
me.
is good, then Ezra can be in another movie.
Right. Yeah. If he ain't behind bars and he is on the path of recovery, he can continue to work. Like that's what that feels like to me. But you know what? I don't like one mistake and your life is ruined. I truly don't. I don't love that, depending on what the mistake is, of course. But you kill 30 people. Well, I don't love that about you. But I think the shut up about it until we know more. I like that style personally. Getting to the Flash movie himself definitively says resets the DCU. So
yes,
great. We all knew that was coming. That's before the movie even happens. That's the hard line in the sand. But it's a soft reboot, right? And soft in that, like, Shazam could still continue. Like, those actors could still continue. He says very specifically that the actors can still continue. Not that the stories still keep going. But
that's an interesting distinction. You're right. Yeah.
It is. But I do have one caveat to that, but it's not this one. Blue Beetle is coming out August 18th, which is fun. Originally HBO movie, now big theater movie, so good for him. But Aquaman 2 comes out December 25th, which Gunn says leads directly into the next projects before, like, the big, the big stuff. But Aquaman 2 is the previous continuity that comes out after The Flash resets the universe. So
Yeah.
So the way that I'm seeing that is that it's kind of like all DC, like it's almost like all comic book reboots in which that, like, some stories are affected, some characters are greatly affected, and others are just not for some reason. You know what I mean? And that's okay. Like, whatever. That's comics, baby. Like,
it's actually a classic. Like, if you were going to adapt comics to the screen, like, this is exactly what would happen.
Yeah,
right?
some things count and some things don't.
Because like this story was already in the works before they decided to go in a different direction. Like, well, this is already going to publish, so like, all right, it's going to press. It's going to happen.
That's
and 20 years from now, people look back and they're like, wait, why was there that one story after Crisis that still carried on the? Don't ask questions. It's just its own thing. Don't worry about it.
It's just a thing that happens. Don't worry about it. The way that I'm kind of looking at it is, apart from that, is that like, just because the world resets, that doesn't mean that the actors can't play the part they were already playing.
Totally. Yes.
That's just their face, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't,
except in the cases where it's not their face anymore.
Right. So like,
fine.
whatever. Yeah. But the way that I'm kind of looking at it is like, if I look at a comic reboot of, a complete universe story.
Yeah.
Clark Kent still looks like Clark Kent in the next thing.
Right.
Like, that's just, he's the same person.
And sometimes, but like, even in comics, sometimes they look different. Like,
sometimes they don't. Right.
Like, it's like, because it's a multiverse, and like, we pulled in the Superman from Earth, 24,
whatever, right.
and not the one from Earth 38 and whatever, but then the Flash from Earth 38 and not like, whatever. Sometimes that just happens, like the Golden Age Superman went away after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and there was a new Superman, but then like some of the other characters did have the same characteristics and whatnot, so like, it's fine. Yeah. There's going to be maybe some of the characters, maybe it'll still be the same Aquaman and a new Superman side by side. That's part of the universe resetting.
Right. And that's not the only, this is not the only franchise to do that.
Correct.
Batman the Batman franchise in the 80s and 90s did it, where Batman changed and the tone changed between Batman Returns and Batman Forever, but Alfred was the same. Commissioner Gordon was the same. Like, technically, it's a different little world. Like, it's a soft relaunch. It's a soft reboot, but those actors stayed. Better example, Judi Dench was in a completely separate Bond universe, and then Casino Royale happened, and she's still M. Like,
there you go.
Who cares? They did a great job. Let them keep going or whatever.
There you go.
That's fine by me. And so, whatever. So then next we got the 8 to 10 year plan for film, television, and gaming. We really only got television and film. We didn't really speak about gaming yet.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't really care.
That's fine.
Not really a gamer, so.
Yeah. I feel like as much as they're talking about these things as all being integrated, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if gaming is still sort of its own thing. Maybe it's closer integrated than it has been up until now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's still sort of, maybe the stories don't spill over quite to the same degree as they do in film and TV and
or
animation.
It's just the game is for a character that it's just a B or C list character, right?
Correct.
Like the game is for B or C list character. No, can't use that one. Nice try though. It's like let's say it's for, I don't know, Constantine or whatever.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And so, it's kind of like if Cal Kestis, played by Cameron Monaghan, showed up in The Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
He plays that character in mocap, like in the studio. And then he plays that character in live action.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
That's how I'm seeing it. So a character that you just would play a game with first, but if you don't, oh well. Like, that's okay. So first up, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Creature Commandos is number 1, which is a TV animation. James Gunn wrote all the episodes, which is 7 episodes in total. Already in production, the animated characters will be played by the same actors that they hope to have them play in live action.
I think that sounds super fun and super cool. Like,
me too.
That committing to that, if they can stick to that, which I'm sure the contracts will make sure that does happen, is a very, very cool idea that hasn't really been done at scale before.
Not at that scale. I think that's
right.
So we've almost gone in reverse with like Matt Ryan playing Constantine on TV, and then he also does the animated films and whatever else. But
but when that happens, it's a novelty,
yes.
right? To do it as the intent from the outset, I really like that.
Me too. Do you know anything about the Creature Commandos?
I know nothing about the Creature Commandos. When he said the very first thing we're going to do is, I was like, okay.
I'm feeling nervous.
All right. All right. I'm getting Iron Man vibes from this. Okay. No, not nervous. Just like, okay, we're starting with a lesser known one. Cool.
Yeah, which is fine. Creature Commandos are pretty old. So they're basically like the Universal Monsters, DC's Universal Monster group, like the Mod Squad, or not the Mod Squad, but the Monster Squad.
Yeah.
And their original intention in the comics was to fight Nazis. That's why they were created. So it's
other Commandos.
That
makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense with war comics.
Right. It's Frankenstein's monster, Bride of Frankenstein. Actually, do you have the? I didn't put.
I could use my one lookup.
Oh yeah, baby, that's what we're gonna do. Because the picture, let me see yes.
Original team was Warren Griffith, who's a werewolf, Jake, the first GI robot, Dr. Medusa, one of the Gorgons, Private Elliot Lucky Taylor, a Frankenstein monster, Sergeant Vincent Velcro, a vampire.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, looking at the picture of that DC Studios released, I don't think many of those are actually the same.
Probably not.
No.
But now in the modern era, we've got the modern era, and you've got Agents of Shade.
Yes, that's the New 52 relaunch version.
Yeah. So you do have, Father Time, Ray Palmer, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Vincent Velcro is still there, Warren Griffith the Werewolf, Collis the Mummy. So that's...
Okay. Looking at the picture, could be Rip Hunter, actually. Guy in yellow shirt is a creature from the Black Lagoon, but a lady. Dr. Phosphorus type character. Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, a robot character whom I do not know. And it looks like Weasel from the Suicide Squad, which was played by James Gunn's brother, whose name escapes
Sean
me.
Gunn.
Sean Gunn, thank you. So I don't know. I like the animation style. I like the concept art anyway, and I'm totally ready for this. Truthfully, I'm like happy for that. Next we get a TV show, live action TV show, which is entitled Waller, starring Viola Davis. She's going to team up with Team Peacemaker. The show is created by Crystal Henry, who did the Watchmen TV show, and Jeremy Carver, who did the Doom Patrol TV show. And I would assume that it just picks up where Peacemaker left off. Like it's just pivoting to a different direction. Did you watch Peacemaker? I don't remember.
I didn't.
Oh, it's great. It's so good.
It wasn't for me.
I know. So spoilers for Peacemaker to give you some context for why this is happening. At the end of Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad team is outed, like, to the world. Like, this is this secret government program run by Amanda Waller, blah, 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 blah. It's super unethical, so on and so forth. And so Waller's put in the hot spot, or the hot seat, basically, and is going to have to deal with the outcome of running this super secret, definitely illegal, unethical, very apolitical team.
Gotcha.
But truthfully, I like that pivot because you have one of the best actresses on the planet, and she has been criminally underutilized in some pretty poor properties.
Yeah.
And so make it good. That would be great.
Make it good. I'm excited that the people behind Watchmen are involved, because I feel like that's the kind of tone and that's the kind of like storytelling style that she warrants. Like, you have a big name like Viola Davis, like, use her,
absolutely,
and tell a story worthy of an actor of her caliber.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So then after that, Gunn says the true beginning of the DCU starts in this moment. And so it's like the soft launch. These things, like you said, these things were already in the works, like leading up to this moment. And that is starting with Superman Legacy, a film written by James Gunn, Hollywood Reporter said he might direct, so there's no confirmation on that. I'm going to say he's probably not. I don't think that there's time to direct a large movie like any superhero movie.
I kind of hope he's not, because he's got his hands in so many things that I kind of hope he would delegate that to somebody who can really give it the attention it needs.
Me too. Writing is one thing if you can like really like write it and then pass it off to somebody to fine tune it and then keep going. But directing is just like, this takes years of people's lives. This is all they do. And so I just don't think you can do both. So I feel like that's just people speculating. Anyways, coming out allegedly on July 11th, 2025, mere months before the Batman Part 2. Safran said it's not an origin story. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned.
I like the sound of that.
Me too. You know what it sounds like to me? What's so funny about truth? What's so funny about truth, justice, and the American way?
Yes, it does. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's how that reads to me. And then, to me, it reads that way because I want to skip one that they mentioned, but go right into the Authority film that is coming, which was a Wildstorm book. By Jim Lee, which then made its way into DC Publishing, and it's this group of, it's basically the Justice League without morals. Like, they feel like the world is headed in a terrible direction, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win. So he said one of the things about the DCU is that it's not just a story about heroes and villains, says Gunn. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. Giant things in the sky comes and good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats. Safran added, there are kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that they want them on the wall, or at least they believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like the Superman Legacy feeds into the Authority, or like the Authority feeds from the Superman Legacy story. If you're talking about like, this is like this man who is truth and goodness and kindness in this old-fashioned world. So here's the Authority that's like basically challenging that very that very concept. And so I wonder if it is kind of like truth, justice, and the American way with the Authority instead of Manchester Black.
That's interesting. Yeah, that would be a. I mean, they didn't specifically say those two things are connected, right? But
they are not. Like I'm just speculating here.
Yeah, no, I like where you're headed with that.
Yeah.
I like that speculation a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I am speculating on is the chapter title is Gods and Monsters, right? And so all of these things presumably are in some way about thematically gods or godlike beings and monsters or monster-like beings. You get like very literal monsters with creature commandos. You get godlike being with Superman, right? And so like so you have that. And so I'm also thinking about like, okay, so if you're doing that, so where are the villains, and like what are those villains, like where are you placing that? Like, are we gonna get big screen Metallo? Like that's a monster, or Parasite, or Brainiac? Like those are all, to me, those are all monster-esque type villains.
No, I follow. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Even like a group like the Authority that like decides to like, this is the way the world is and this is how we're gonna fix it with extreme methods of protecting the planet and blah blah blah. That's godlike, right? You know, that's like
sure.
And but also kind of monster-like at the same time. So that's cool. Truthfully, the Authority blindsided me. There were a couple of projects in here that I was like, whoa, did not see that coming. Creature Commandos. Did not see, the Authority was definitely one of them. I was like, holy moly, like that's where you're going, which is cool. Like it's not just like, okay, here's Aquaman, here's the Flash, here's Batman, here's whatever. It's different.
Totally. I like that they are giving themselves license to try some new things, try some different things, and check out some characters who maybe wouldn't have had the spotlight otherwise.
No. Have you read any Authority stories?
gosh, I don't. If I did, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I never read any of the original 90s stuff. I read some of the stuff when they first came into the DC universe, and I read the Midnighter series a couple of times. Midnighter's like a Batman-esque character, but he's got a chip in his head that like tells him like how people fight, so he can counteract their fighting or whatever else. He's cool.
Right.
He's what I like actually about Midnighter is that he's gay and in a relationship with Apollo, who is the Superman-esque type character. So you have like a Batman and Superman like style romance instead of a bromance, and I just like the parallel between those things. So that's fun. We also have an HBO series coming, which is called Lanterns, which is a Green Lantern show. Are you excited?
I am very excited about that.
Yeah. Not connected to Berlanti's show at all.
Yeah, that was my first thought, right? It was like, wait, is this that same show Resurrected? But no, I guess not.
No, they might have taken some of the core concepts of it, or
sure,
maybe
I wouldn't
even,
be surprised. Yeah.
You know, that happens a lot. Like, ooh, we like this idea and this one and this one. The rest of them can go.
Right. So
that's not happening at all, but it's Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan in a, quote, true detective style show. And they also said it's terrestrial, so it takes place on Earth.
Right.
HBO Max series, a mystery that ties into the larger story of the DCU.
These are my two favorite Green Lanterns. To give them a show together, this is, if I were to pitch a Green Lantern show, this is pretty much what it would be.
That's great. That's great. Oh, you must be very excited.
I'm very excited about that.
I like the idea of a cop procedural, but Green Lanterns. I think because of the Jeff Johns run that was so prevalent for so long.
Yeah.
They really zeroed in and focused on the space opera of Green Lantern. But for so long, Green Lantern was a cop procedural. That's what they are. They're space cops. And so I dig this style. The mystery itself that ties into the larger DCU, tying back to that Gods and Monsters thing. I think we're looking what is the overall big bad of Chapter 1, right? But is it Vandal Savage, who's like a godlike and a monster? Is it the New Gods? Is it there's a lot of stuff to play with here. I'm excited about that one as well, as long as it's season 1 of True Detectives and not the rest of them, because not True Detectives. True Detective.
Yeah, True Detective.
Yeah, because the first season was the only good one. A hill I will die on.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion.
It is not. No, I'm not dying on the hill.
You're not, if you are not dying alone.
No, I'm not. Next up is Paradise Lost. Great name for a show about Paradise Island, which is an HBO Max series described as a Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that is Wonder Woman's birthplace, Themyscira, filled with political intrigue and scheming between power players. It takes place before the events of the Wonder Woman films, which to me says those films also be canon.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're pretty unconnected.
Right.
They don't, really nothing. There's no reference to anything, really, apart from an email from Bruce Wayne, I think, in Wonder Woman. There's nothing. That's that's all there is.
Yeah.
Whoopty frickin' do, an email. So that's good. That's exciting to me. I think that, I think this is one of those oh, good, you're utilizing these characters in a setting we're not used to.
Sure.
Or,
yes.
And it's not just, because Wonder Woman is a tough character to crack, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but truthfully, I think watching the Snyder movies, one of the hills that people will die on is that some of the best stuff was Themyscira. Every, in the first Wonder Woman movie, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, in Wonder Woman, that was the good stuff. Give me, and that's basically, I feel like they heard that or thought it themselves and said, yeah, all right, here you go. Great.
I mean, yeah, pretty much all things surrounding Wonder Woman were among the very best things about that iteration of the DC universe.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for that. You're not a fantasy guy, so do you think you'd watch it?
I'm not a fantasy guy, but I really loved Wonder Woman 2017. I freaking loved that movie. I went to see it a couple times in the theater, saw it a couple times after that. I really, really loved it. So I would definitely give it a shot. When Game of Thrones is not really my jam, so I may not stick with it, but I'm definitely going to give it a try.
Yeah, I think Game of Thrones is not your jam, but you do like stories that have intrigue, right? And so if it's
sure,
a story with intrigue with characters that you're comfortable with or familiar with or whatever, then that might be the thing that keeps you going almost. Right. I think that's cool.
That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. 4 left. We got a film coming up, my personal favorite of the bunch, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Very exciting title for me. DCU, but the introduction of the DCU Batman, very specific, so that means not Michael Keaton, probably, not Ben Affleck, probably. And it is the introduction of Damian Wayne, who's Gunn says is personally his favorite Robin. This is based on Grant Morrison's comic book run, in which Bruce Wayne discovers he has a child with Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, and Gunn said is the beginning of the Bat family in the DCU. I'm excited. There's a part of me that doesn't love that we're skipping over 3-4 Robins if you count Stephanie, right? Because you're skipping over Dick, Jason, and Tim. Stephanie Brown, if you count her, for how little she was Robin, and then going right into Damian. But he did not say whether Damian, Jason, and Tim already exist in said universe. He's just saying that the story focuses on Batman or Bruce and Damian, which I love. It's a great dynamic. We have not seen Batman the dad on screen before, so you're giving me a very different look at or a different iteration of the character in live action than I've seen before. And I feel like Robin really only makes sense in the modern day if it's actually Batman's son. You know what I mean? The child endangerment part of it, and the fact that he's raised by assassins and all this stuff. I like that. And to me, if it really is based on Grant Morrison's comic book run and we're getting Creature Commandos as the first thing, they're going full comic book on this, Frank. And that's what I'm excited. This whole thing feels like full comic book. We're starting with monsters, and so you bet your butt there's going to be Ninja Man bats in this movie or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about. What about you? What do you feel?
I'm very excited to see this. I'm very excited to see this come to the big screen. I think this is really cool and a very ambitious thing to bring to live action and to bring to the big screen. It's something that's been so integral to Batman as a character for so long, and to see them sort of flesh out the Bat family more, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Something I think built just for you, Booster Gold, the television show. In live action, he is, quote, a loser from the future who gets future tech and goes back to the present day. Going to be on HBO Max. It is the superhero imposter syndrome movie or story.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
That is Booster Gold.
Totally.
I never heard him described exactly in those terms, but that's nailed it. That is exactly what his character is and what his character should be. So they understand the character.
I agree.
I love that character. I think he's super fun, and I'm excited to see what that show looks like. I'm curious what the themes will be of it and how that will all
truly
together.
Can I pitch a tone for this show to you and tell me if it works? Booster Gold, tone, Ted Lasso.
See, that would be amazing. Because Ted is kind of a, I hesitate to say Ted Lasso is a loser, but
he is not
in the sense that he's not a Premier League football coach. He's an American football coach. He's a fish out of water, if nothing else. And so I love that idea of, that kind of tone that is the I don't know, lovable loser sort of, could be a great,
Yep, I agree.
For
and
that character.
I do believe that I'm not totally 100% on this, but I think Ted Kord, Blue Beetle, is in the Blue Beetle movie. And so maybe whoever that is, like, trickles into Booster Gold, and you get a bit of best friendship, because you get Beard and Ted Lasso, so you get Blue Beetle and Booster Gold.
If they weren't already using the term Brave and the Bold,
totally,
for Batman, I'd be like, maybe the spin-off series is Brave and the Bold.
Maybe, yeah. Although Brave and the Bold that title does belong to Batman first, so
I suppose.
Yeah, in comics that was a Batman title, which he would team up with some various other people. All right, so next up is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is a film. This one really took me by surprise. Truthfully.
Same.
Like, oh, here's a Superman story. It's, like him in this. It's not an origin story, but he's younger and blah, blah, blah. Also, here's a Supergirl movie. And I was like, whoa.
I was not expecting that. But you know what? It is they were already talking about having a Supergirl come to the existing universe. Mm-hmm. And I think it's only, they need to start this universe with female characters other than Wonder Woman, right?
Totally.
Like, there need to be, early on, there need to be plans for female characters. It can't just be all guys.
Nope.
That's not.
And, truthfully, and they can't all be Batman characters either.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I'm a little surprised they didn't go, like, Black Canary or, that route instead, but I don't know. Did you read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? Tom King's
I didn't read
mini?
that run, the Tom King run, no.
It's okay, so it's very wordy, just like for a comic book. So I would warn you in advance. And I say that as someone who likes to read, is an English teacher, all these things. It's very wordy.
Okay.
Now, that does not mean that the story is not good. It's very good. It is the crux of it is kind of this girl, she's the point of view character who I'm pretty sure her dad gets killed or something like that. It's like a Wild West story. You know what it is? It's kind of like True Grit. Do you ever see True Grit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this girl is basically the little girl in True Grit. Whatever.
Haley Steinfeld.
Thank you, Haley Steinfeld. And she, her dad is killed by this dude, right? Josh Brolin. And she tries to find, a ranger or, a marshal to help her find and hunt this guy for revenge.
Jeff Bridges.
Right, exactly. Jeff Bridges. And Matt Damon, because there's two of them. And so that's basically Woman of Tomorrow, where this character's father is killed, and by this other person, and she tries to hunt them down and enlists the help of Supergirl to get there. And the whole thing is the girl's like, I'm going to kill him. And Supergirl's like, sure you are. Yeah, you are. And it's this, how do you deal with violence, or how do you be hopeful in a universe filled with despair? And all these, different little adventures that they go on. And, just the inspiration and hope to the galaxy at large that she is, instead of just to Earth. That's what makes them different. It is really good. It's very pretty. The art is wonderful. It's Bilquis something, I think. I can't remember the artist's name. But they say that Supergirl in this one, we see a difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then come to Earth. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. And so that is, when he says that's not the Supergirl we're used to, I think he's referring to the television show. Because a lot of Supergirl, the Supergirl I've read pretty much since the early 2000s, going back to the Jeff Loeb run in Superman Batman, she's pretty hardcore, right?
Sure.
She's got an edge. Why do we do things this way? Why don't we do this, and this, and this, and this? And the Supergirl that's been in comics for the past I don't know, maybe year or so. Like she's pretty serious. Like she's got like an edge. She's got a tiny bit of an edge to her. She's caring and stuff, and she's not like a killer or anything. But she's not as here. Let me extend my hand to you kind of person. She's just a little bit more like I've seen stuff.
Okay,
and that's fine. I like make her different. I don't like her. I don't want her to be a carbon copy of Superman if Superman exists.
Sure,
you know what I mean. Like that style worked for the television show that I watched.
Correct.
But I'm happy to see something different. I'm also happy to see a character grow into into something else. Send her on a path of discovery. I'm fine with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's. I think that the storyline that you're describing, I'm like, man, I mean, not to be too derivative, but like let's make this a Coen Brothers movie. Yeah, I mean, that smacks of hope, help, and compassion for all, which is sort of her slogan. I wonder if the more hardcore, hard-edged version that he's describing, if that's they kind of sound like, maybe this might be me misinterpreting what you're saying, but they kind of sound like they're two different takes. So I wonder how they reconcile them.
Sure. I mean, it is the style that Tom King wrote is really not the style that he wrote about. But I also wonder, I wonder if it's the Supergirl from The Flash.
Right. Yeah.
That I am interested in that. To see if she ends up crossing over into the main DCU or if she's a one and done. I'm not sure. But I'm so intrigued with this, and I wonder if Tom King is actually writing it himself, because
that would be cool.
He tweets quite often or about like, oh, all right, I got to stop working on Secret Hollywood stuff, and now I'm doing comic stuff again. And he goes back and forth, so we'll see. And then last up, what they said is Swamp Thing, which is a film. It's a dark horror story for the origins of Swamp Thing. They said totally is outside the DCU, but still will feed into the rest of those stories. So, which means that like some of the other stories, maybe World of Tomorrow, Booster Gold, Batman, Lanterns, Authority, maybe they all do have a story thread. But because Swamp Thing's an origin story, it doesn't connect in a larger way. But I freaking love Swamp Thing. I can't tell you how excited I am.
I know.
So
is Swamp Thing the Hulk of this universe, where his story is just told in like vignettes throughout the other movies?
Maybe. I don't know. No, he gets his own movie. It's right there.
I know.
It's right there. Just as long as it's better than the movie, Frank. I like, that's all that matters to us.
How could it not?
I don't know, man. I don't know. We didn't watch the second one yet, so. Yeah, so don't speak. So, but if it's like half as good as the television show, I'll be very excited because the show was great.
Sure.
So yeah, that's it. That's the reveal. It's all over the place, but I'm not all over the place in that like it's like wildly inconsistent, but it's like it's like a little bit of something for everybody. And I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I am too. I think that this is it's a very ambitious plan that they have set out for themselves, and I am glad that they are open to being flexible. I'm glad that they are committed to letting the directors tell the stories that they want to tell, and presumably they'll do that by finding the directors who gel with them, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're not, I think they want to avoid a situation like you had with, say, Edgar Wright and Marvel, where they realized that they were not a fit. I think they want to avoid things like that from happening.
Sure. I'm sure there's a couple of mandates too, like you can't kill off your main character.
Oh, of course,
things, certainly.
Yes, naturally. I'm excited for the possibilities that this brings up. I'm excited for, I think what you said really sums it up for me, which is they want to treat every character with the tone that character needs to be treated with, which I think is the most important thing. Like, all these characters are different, are unique, and they can all coexist in the same universe while having their differences. And I hope that that they managed to thread that needle, because I think that they've got good people at the helm who care and who want to do this right. So I am excited to see it happen.
Yep. Yeah, I am too. I think there's a cautious optimism here, mostly because I think even the stories they're telling in themselves are fairly optimistic stories.
That's right.
You know, maybe apart from The Authority, which is more of a dour look at the way the world works. Like there's a thread of hope that kind of runs through these stories, especially if you're familiar with a lot of the material. And I dig that very much. Really something for everybody here. I had another thought, but I think I lost it. So, Frank, why don't you tell the people where they can find us, and I'll see if it rings in the back of my brain somewhere.
Sure thing. Yeah, you can find us over at beerwithgeeks.com, at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. You can support the show there. You can support us by telling a friend. You can support us by rating and reviewing the show wherever you are listening to it right now, subscribing to it, following it wherever you're listening to us right now, and whatever your podcast app of choice might be, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon or any of the many great apps like Overcast or Pocket Casts or anything like that. You can email us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
That's wonderful. I did not think of what I was trying to think of. Truthfully, now I just really want to read Grant Morrison's Batman run over again. Nice. And so it's exciting. I don't know. You were watching the movie, the video. Did you notice that? Like, I think they selected images very particularly for like Superman Legacy, The Authority, whatever else, and like Paradise Lost had some art that dealt with men on Paradise Island. So like we're going that far back with like the Hercules stuff and like how dark it got for those women in there. And that's cool. Superman Legacy used All-Star Superman, which tells me almost everything I need to know about the tone that they're really trying to set for their Superman.
I noticed that, and I wondered immediately if that. Yeah, I wonder how much of that is a choice in terms of telling us this is the tone we're going for, and how much of it is like, you like Superman, All-Star Superman, don't you? Like, well, guess what? You know, like, I wonder how much of it is like, you're familiar with this, or how much of it is like, this is what we're going for.
I do know that Gunn has been seen like reading All-Star Superman, and like he's writing the movie, so I feel like those two things really are related in that, like, you could pick any image of Superman, but that's pointed, I think, and direct. Like, this is the type of Superman that we're telling. Yeah. It's a choice. Mostly because also like the art that they pulled for Batman Brave and the Bold is from the Grant Morrison run. You know, that's the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is from the Woman of Tomorrow book. Even the Swamp Thing story, like the story that one shot that it came from is like really dark and like really good. So yeah, I think it's on purpose. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
man. I like what I've seen.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I like seeing you. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.